Lawton Valley Reservoir is a man-made reservoir located in Newport, Rhode Island. Built in 1943, this reservoir is 30 foot deep and contains 450 million gallons of water. In years past, high levels of manganese have become a common problem in this reservoir. Elevated levels of minerals like manganese and iron lead to noticeable differences in taste, color, and clarity of the water. In the past, a chemical flocculant and deflocculant were used to reduce the high level of manganese. Newport City engineers contacted Air Diffusion Systems after having heard about a natural alternative to manganese removal. Air Diffusion Systems' fine bubble aeration gently mixes and oxygenates water, improving taste among other benefits. Manganese is precipitated out of the water column through oxidation and reduction, significantly reducing it and the usage of chemicals. 5 aeration discs, each with 100 feet of ADS LTC tubing, were installed in September of 2008. These aeration discs connected via feeder tubing to a central compressor. Each disc will pump over 1 billion bubbles, mixing 20 million gallons daily. A 10 horsepower compressor delivers enough air to mix the equivalent of 450 million gallons once every 5 days. To install the aeration discs, a proper motorized boat or platform big enough to hold feeder tubing, aeration discs, and 2 people is needed. The first step to installing an aeration disc is to measure water depth to find the deepest parts of the reservoir. For each location picked at Lawton Valley Reservoir, a milk jug tied to a rock sufficed as a marker for each disc location. Feeder tubing and an aeration disc were loaded onto the platform. We then headed for the first marker and anchored near the intended installation point. We began by attaching feeder hose to the aeration disc brass nipple using the provided stainless steel clamps and a socket wrench. At this point, the aeration disc was ready to be installed. We slowly lowered the disc after placing it into the water carefully as not to kink the feeder tubing. A feeder tubing roll was placed upon the coiling reel. Screws were used to help secure the coil to prevent it from hurting the field operator or falling off of the platform. With the disc resting on the bottom safely and the coiling reel in the ready, the anchor was lifted up and the platform headed straight toward the compressor shelter. The feeder tubing gently fell off the back of the platform with very little handling of it. A PVC insert and 2 stainless steel clamps were used to firmly attach both ends of the feeder tubing. If needed, we lubricated the PVC fitting before putting it into the feeder tubing. Once the feeder tubing and clamps were firmly in place, we continued our voyage to the compressor shelter. Upon arrival at the shoreline, the feeder tubing from the boat and the feeder tubing from the compressor shelter were attached together. This installation process was repeated until each disc was properly installed in the right location. The compressors were now ready to be started up. The compressor pushes air into a receiving tank, which then passes through a manifold responsible for delivering air to each aeration disc. With the aeration disc properly installed and the manifold set up correctly, here are some shots of the aeration discs in action.